What's good in the hood? It is Wednesday. It is what is today? August the 3rd, I think. Yep, August the 3rd. First day of school here where we are. So I got two youngins who were off to school this morning. Of course, transportation was terrible, and I sat at the bus stop for an hour. So today started off kind of interesting. I can't wait till I hear them stories from you.
I already have those stories. Do you know how many bus drivers I've cussed out since I've become a stepmom to Devin? I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
here's the funny thing is
Yeah,
that the first day of school is around the same time every year, guys. Y'all know this
yeah,
day is about to happen.
yeah.
And y'all just got these kids out in the weather, just standing there in their cute school clothes, just ready. The parents taking pictures, and after 30 minutes, it's not cute no more. Now I'm
Nah,
just annoyed.
nah, it's not. It's not. It's Michelle started middle school today.
She's a big
So
girl.
yeah. She started middle school today. So and the way that they all the schools are together in one little cluster, and they all take the same buses, and they drop them off, they pick them up, they drop them off, and they pick them up. And so they moved the elementary back 10 minutes and moved the middle school up 10 minutes to try to make up for that transportation issue. And Michelle still and I were at the bus stop for an hour this morning. And you know what's so funny?
Here's
Yeah,
the crazy thing. After
yeah.
30 minutes, why didn't you just put her in the car and take her to school?
Well, here's the thing. Let me finish my story. So she was
Okay.
still in the car, and this was the first time that I realized that I'm getting ready to not be the cool dad, because all the other middle school kids were out on the bus stop chilling, and Michelle was in the car. I was like, do you want to go out? Do you see any of your friends out there? No, I'm good. Okay. So she
It's a
stayed.
1,000 degrees outside. Why she want to stand in the
It
heat when
wasn't
she
that hot. It wasn't that hot. She just,
wasn't that hot?
it wasn't that hot. So anyway, she stayed in the car with me, and then after a while I said, okay, because you just don't realize it's worse going to the school. Literally, I saw Karen.
Oh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
only reason why it's easy for me to drop Devin off at school is because special needs parents get priority.
Okay.
So we get to skip everybody, drop our kid off in special place. There's a little attendant there that takes them, and then I
Uh-huh.
drive off about my business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So that's cool. So we so when I end up having to go to the school, there was a Karen. Ooh, the Karen got ran up on by the cop this morning because she tried to cut the line. He was running up on her and started banging on the window of the side of the kid. I was like, ooh, this spot about to get my popcorn. Anyway, first time tuning to Life on Circuit Radio. My name's Miguel Lloyd, and I'm the host. And this is the super producer.
what's up, guys?
And
Happy
so,
Wednesday.
yeah, happy Wednesday. So we're enjoying this new thing we're doing on Wednesday, because we used to do Wednesday all the time when we had a blog to talk, and the weekends are back. Because here's what I just found out: we're gonna have not only have football Sundays, but fall AAU basketball. I just found out that Michelle will be back in basketball. So cheers to that. All right, so today we got a fun show, interesting show. It's a lot of stuff that's jumping off, a lot of stuff is popping off, as always. It seems like everybody decided they want to have Beyonce be their come up this past week. So not only Kelis, but in the last couple of days, we've had everybody from My Neck, My Back, Kia. I think it's how you pronounce her name. My Neck, My Back.
Pronounced Kaya. It's
Kaya
pronounced
shows how
Kaya.
much I pay attention. Oh yeah, right. You said, yo, don't put her on me. Don't put her on me.
She's from St. Pete. She's from St. Pete, Tampa Bay area. She's
Is she
727 all
really?
the way. Yes, she is. Kaya
Okay.
is Tampa Bay born and bred. She don't want to claim us, but
Yeah,
this is
because
where she's from.
on her Wikipedia she claims Philly. So I was like, she from Philly?
She,
That don't make sense.
she lived there until she was 2. Stop it.
All right, so in addition to that, we're gonna talk about Will Smith. He made his apology to Chris Rock. Chris Rock says, "I don't give a beep." Um, and Beyonce would drop a new album. Kelis, Kaya, and even Monica Lewinsky has gotten into this conversation about.
And Diane and the famous songwriter Diane Warren has also been involved in the conversation by asking what seemingly to me was an innocuous question, but now all of a sudden she racist. Like,
Okay, all right.
everybody's
So we're gonna get into that. And our guest today is going to be
yes.
two guests. Is it three guests, or is it just two guests?
It's just 2 guests. It's just going to be 2 guests. It's going to be Dr.
Justin Clardy
Justin Clardy, who is an expert in polyamory. He's written a book.
That's right.
And also Catalina Alicon Gainey. And if that last name Gainey sounds familiar, that's my maiden last name. She is my niece, and she's going to be talking about polyamory herself because she has a wife, and her wife are getting ready to marry their new wife soon. I think the wedding is in like a month, but I'll let Catalina break that down. But we're talking about polyamorous relationships and how they work.
Yeah, so we'll get into that and see how that's going to work. All right, let's jump into this conversation. Let's get the ratchetness and the news and everything out the way here early. I want to start off. Let's start off with the Will Smith story. Can we start off with Will Smith?
Absolutely, we can start off with Will Smith. So Will Smith on Monday dropped an apology. Do we have the video of his apology?
No, we don't. We don't.
Okay, fine. So he dropped an apology out of nowhere almost on Instagram. And for a second there, a lot of people thought he was being interviewed. He was not being interviewed. He was actually answering questions that he's gotten over the time. And people asked him, why didn't you apologize to Chris Rock in your acceptance speech of the award? And he basically said that he was completely fogged out at this point, and he just really didn't know what was going on. But I think all of us kind of knew that from how he looked. He looked kind of like he had taken like a whole line of blow or something, like he didn't know what was going on. Like, I know that I'm not trying to be funny, but he didn't know what was happening. Another question was, about apologizing to Chris Rock. And he says that he immediately reached out to Chris Rock. Chris Rock didn't want to have anything to do with that apology. And we all can't fault Chris Rock for that. No, we totally get it. And I think Chris Rock actually responded to the apology, didn't he, Miguel?
He basically said he ain't got nothing to say. Paraphrasing here, because here's where Chris Rock has something to say. He's on tour right now.
Yes.
So if you want to hear about what Chris Rock has to say, because he has made some comments, he's called him Suge Knight or Will Knight, kind of making some references to Suge Knight. Here's the thing: Chris Rock had an embarrassment of that moment.
Epic proportions, though.
Epic proportions. But nobody. That's not like The Rock got slapped up and he didn't do anything. It's Chris Rock who got slapped up and didn't do anything.
I'm not sure what point you're trying to make by saying.
Here's the point that I'm making. Nobody expects much from Chris Rock in that moment. Like, I would not expect Chris Rock to fight back in that moment. I just didn't. Here's my point. Will Smith has been hurt. His career has been hurt much more than Chris Rock's in this situation.
No, that's a
that is my point. My point is that this is not a long-term detriment to Chris Rock. Chris Rock responding to this in any further shape or form, there's no value. There's nothing he's going to get out of this. Will Smith is the one that has to come in hat in hand. He apologized to Chris Rock's mama. He apologized to Tony Rock. He apologized to Jada.
Him and Tony Rock were actually closer friends than him and Chris Rock were, apparently.
Yeah,
I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, Tony Rock's a successful comedian. He's been doing his thing for a minute.
Is he? Successful? How are we defining successful these days?
He's been out there touring.
I'm just saying.
Tony Rock can fill a comedy club on a nightly basis.
A comedy club. My mama can fill a comedy club. Let's not. Glenn can fill a comedy club. Me and you can have a podcast and have a comedy and fill a comedy club. Let's not do that.
Tony Rock is better than the average sibling of someone famous. He's decently known. So anyway, Tony Rock came. He was one of the first ones that came out and basically said, Will Smith, there's a lot of Rock brothers. I saw him in stand-up. I saw a clip, and he was basically like he's going to come after him. So anyway, Will Smith, as I said on the show before, I was reading Will's book when this happened, and I was not surprised. Will's got a lot of issues.
Yes.
He has a lot of issues that are stemming from his childhood, how he was brought up, his father, and how his father kind of how his father raised him. He was very with an iron fist, and so he's very protective of the women in his life. And so his daughter Willow, his wife Jada, his moms, all those people he's really protective of, and so it kind of boiled over. So hey, Will got a long way to go, but here's the thing. Will got Bad Boys 4 to make, and he got some movie on Apple Plus that they had a lot of money engaged in, Netflix and some others.
Multiple films that people are not just going to dump off to the side. And let me tell you something that I really did not like about this entire situation is the vitriol that's coming from the white community about this. They seem to be the most traumatized and affected. I don't know if you've seen the comments.
No.
I have.
No.
It's been crazy. I actually posted about it on Twitter and got all these people saying, "You're a racist. You're a race baiter."
You're a race baiter.
I was like, well, just call me a bed wench and move on about your business. Like, what are you talking about? The vitriol we're seeing is from a lot of white people saying, oh, he is a barbarian. He's disgusting. He's this horrible person. I'm like, this man made one mistake. Granted, it was an awful mistake, but this man has been perfect for damn near 50 years. He makes this mistake, and now all of a sudden, y'all are acting like he is Suge Knight, or y'all are acting like he's mystical right now. He's also up on rape charges, by the way. That's how they're acting. And that's
Mystical must like jail. He must like jail. He got some buddies you need to go back and see.
All right, what's next?
So what's next? Go ahead.
Let's go ahead and tackle all the Beyonce people. Everybody's on Beyonce.
Everybody's on Beyonce. Let's talk about B. So Beyonce removes, and this has happened in the last day or two. So to catch everybody up and what is going on with Beyonce. Beyonce dropped an album, which she does every few years or different projects. And so when it came out, there was a song that came out. Here's the thing: I listened to the album. The album is decent. You know, there isn't one song that jumps out to me outside of Church Girl. That's hilarious to me. But
the church community is very upset about right now. But that's a whole different conversation.
So that is definitely part of the conversation. So okay, think about how many people dropped this who were mad because Beyonce dropped this album. Kelis mad because there's an interpolation, at least it was, it's no longer there now, that she, did the milkshake, la, 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 la. That's all it was. I couldn't find it. When I first listened to the song, I said, where is the Kelis part? And so Beyonce said, okay, she ain't say a word, ain't made no public statement. She said, Apple title, just go ahead and take that off. And they re-released it on all digital platforms, and now it's gone. Kelis is out here talking about people that stole from her and Pharrell this and Chad ain't got no spine and all this type of nonsense. You are in the music business.
Yes, but granted, she was done dirty. She was. I mean, but we can say that about a lot of artists who get messed up bad deals. It's what happens.
Right.
I mean,
look
at this. I could go down the list of people who've gotten bad, crazy deals. So,
but here's the thing about Kelis. Kelis made that video last weekend or whenever it was. She was on tour. Somewhere performing in front of thousands and thousands of people. That's where most of these artists are making their money anyway. Yes. So I said immediately that she is using this as an opportunity to ride the wave of Beyonce and make some noise. But it backfired on her. Because it absolutely backfired on her. Like, you challenging Beyonce and Pharrell for what? This is a 17-year-old record. It was almost 20. They said the Milkshake was released in 2003. You're talking about a song that's almost 20 years old, and they're using it, and all you got to do is like Robin S. did. Oh, cool. I'm about to go to every gay club in town. I'm about to go perform some more. I'm getting ready to be back out there and make me some more money. Yeah. And instead of that, Kelis wants to make a big deal out of it. Maybe the child support checks from Nas are so strong, she feels like she's cool with that.
Well, she has a whole separate brand outside of music, which that's what a lot of people are confused about now. You're not performing songs. I think she's a chef right now or something. She's
a chef and a weed.
She's doing well for herself.
A weed connoisseur. And she cooks with weed. I saw this about a year ago on some reality show, and she's into cannabis. She's doing fine. Plus, you have thousands money from Nas from having his kid. You know, she has plenty of things that she could be doing outside of this. But hey, this is what she wants to do. We look at the other people who jumped into this conversation.
Diane Warren, the songwriter.
Who is Diane Warren? I don't know who that is.
Diane Warren has been in the music business for a very long time, 20 years. She wrote Monica's For You I Will. She wrote Beyonce's I'm Still Here or Still Here. She wrote Whitney Houston. There's another Whitney Houston song she wrote that I can't think of, but she's written a lot of songs. And what happened was she got on Twitter and asked, how are 24 writers on one song? I don't know if it was shade or if it was not shade. I have no idea. But she got all this vitriol and backlash from people like The Dream, who, by the way, Dream, you are a horrible human being in real life. So you doing this is it was weird. And a lot of people were like, it's kind of a valid question. Oh, Dream left his wife for another woman, as well as, he pulled the Neo. We'll call it pulling the Neo.
Okay, we call it pulling Neo. Did we already talk about Neo? So much has happened, and Neo was happening. Have we talked about Neo? Was that last week? I don't even remember.
Let's finish up the Beyonce.
Let's finish up Beyonce. Yeah, go ahead.
Thing I can say about Beyonce. she's not going to have no conversation with you.
She
Her
don't have
management
to.
is not going to call you. None of this stuff is happening that people think is going to happen, that she's going to come
Right.
out and say, I apologize.
For
For
what?
example, Monica Lewinsky. Listen, chick, we are sorry about how you got treated by Bill Clinton. I watched that documentary, and what they did to you back in the day, it was wrong.
Hold on, everybody don't know. So now Monica Lewinsky is coming out, and she says the song "Petition," which came out
called Partition.
Partition, whatever. Partition, which came out, I think, in 2013,
Yes.
had the Monica Lewinsky reference in there.
Monica Lewinsky all on my jeans. Well, they're daddy. That's the verse, and it's a classic.
I was gonna let
lyric.
people figure that out, but I guess you thank you.
I love that song. That song is a fun song. And by the way, Monica didn't ask her to take this out. No, Monica doesn't care at this point. Monica knows that she's kind of become this weird moniker. She's produced several shows. She's directed episodes. She's over it. We've all apologized to her for how she was treated because Bill Clinton was a dog back in the day.
Yeah,
and
I don't know why I ain't apologize. I ain't doing to do what Bill Clinton did. Well, go ahead.
Listen. But I think after the whole Spaz situation, the Spaz was taken out of the song, and then people brought up the Monica Lewinsky thing. She was like, you know what? I'm just taking this stuff out. I really don't care. I'm just gonna beep it. It does not matter to me. I'm not having no conversations about it. Right.
They ain't got, and I think we need to start like giving our homework for our show because we just got so much stuff. We just drop the stories in the comments, and you guys can do your homework pre-show. But it's a lot. It's a lot. This album came out, and I'm pretty sure right now, if we pulled up the Billboard charts, I'm pretty sure 6 or 7 songs on that doggone chart are all going to be Beyonce from that song. And then the other thing we haven't talked about
was so much. I mean, people are enjoying the album, but it's not, unless you are a dance club kid or a gay guy who's in the dance clubs all the time, it's not going to resonate as much with you as her other albums have. And that's just being honest.
Yeah, I don't think this album is as good as and I've heard some other people who contradict that and say they really love this album. To each his own.
They love anything Beyonce. Beyonce stans are psychos. Like Nicki Minaj stans are psychos. Like Celine Dion fans are psychos. Like there's some of these people's fan groups who are.
No, I just and I really believe that the strategy with a lot of people like what Kaya has done, Kelis has done. Did I say it right? Is it not Kaya?
It's Kaya, but you're struggling to say a basic name.
It ain't basic. It's Khia. It's like, okay, is that Kaya? Is it Kia? I see Kia, your name all the time. Anyway, so this woman's album came out, and 4 or 5 people came out, and now they're trying to ride this wave. It is what it is. We didn't even talk about the church girl situation. She got a whole song that she sampled the Clark sisters at the beginning of the song. And she basically, in lyrics in the song, she just trolling church people with that because she talking about drop it like a thotty, and
which is hilarious.
Tig old biddies and all this stuff.
To me, it's funny.
She trolling church people with that song. Now the church people up in arms, and what's happened, a lot more streams are happening. All right, so cool. If you missed any part of the show, you can follow us YouTube. And today you can even be following us on Facebook or on YouTube today, as we are streaming on both platforms. And so you can go back and check it out. So what's next? We got about 10 minutes before we bring our guest in.
18, but a few minutes. So I know you really want to talk about this, so we're just going to do it.
I know what you're going to bring it up. Go ahead. Go ahead. You tried to hide this story. Go ahead.
Okay. So a young woman at Florida A&M University for her grad photo decided she was
Kia's alma mater.
My alma mater. I'm a proud rattler. I graduated in 2007. I graduated from J school. I love being a rattler. Going to HBCU was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
But this young lady graduated from another college, came to Florida A&M to get her grad degree in I think counseling, to be a high school counselor.
Something in education. Something in education.
Something in education. And she decided to take her grad photos butt booty naked in front of the brand new famous Rattler snake that's only been there for a couple of years. And she was a naked Medusa. She had snakes in her hair. But a lot of people who are, alumni, including myself, are like, girl, why did you do this? And as someone who in her early 30s and early 20s, Miguel will tell you, his wife will tell you, I didn't mind getting naked back in the day. My 30th birthday photo shoot was me naked. I get it. But I also wasn't at my school's alma mater doing this. It's inappropriate.
Yeah, no, I blame this on Meg Thee Stallion. I really do.
Yeah.
Because it's I'm educated, but I'm body. What is it? Body positive. Then you got Lizzo.
No,
what is it called?
It's not even body positive. It's I'm educated. I'm also a thought. I'm also having a hot girl summer all the time. I look good. I look sexy. I don't need you for nothing. I can be naked and still be respected. No, you cannot. Ladies, I'm not here to tell y'all, as someone who is in the hiring realm at a job,
Yeah.
who works with interns, works with Miguel,
Yeah.
you being naked does not mean you're still going to get respect from people. I know
Yeah.
we want that to be the truth. It's not the truth.
Yeah,
It's just not.
there's got to be a line somewhere. You got to decide. And here's the thing. I understand she's also a rapper. If you go to her Instagram, she's got all her music out there, and so she's trying to, that's also.
Then why are you getting a degree in counseling if you want to be a rapper? Do you think you're going to go to somebody's high school as their counselor and then they pull your music up on SoundCloud and hear your lyrics are going to keep you at the school? How does that work? Fix it, Jesus. Like, how does it work?
Meg Thee Stallion just got her degree from Texas Southern.
In general education, right? It was something stupid like communications or business or something where it's so innocuous no one cares.
So anyway, we'll see how this thing comes down.
Can I say something without yelling really quickly?
Sure.
To the young women who are going to watch this show, this is serious me that I don't put on all the time. You guys have to be careful about what you put out there. It is not
one shot. One shot.
Okay. You have to be careful about what you're putting out there in the world online. I mean, I know you think it's cute. I know you think it's just my social media page. It's just my Facebook. It's just my Instagram. But hiring managers, we look at that stuff. And if you're quick to have that type of stuff out there, it's not a good look for you coming up. Now, when you get to certain stages, like, my COO also happens to be an Instagram model.
See, right there, you just blew half your argument out there. Go ahead.
She's the COO of the company and didn't start doing this type of stuff until she became the COO of the company.
Well, here's the thing, and I believe these young people really believe that the way we did it, they don't have to do it that way anymore. That's the way they see it. They see it like you guys had to all go and get your suits when you didn't want to wear suits, and you had to act like one thing and be something else. We gonna be ourselves. They gonna accept us how we are or not. Now, a lot of them going to be broke. A lot of them, there's going to be, for every one Meg Thee Stallion, there's going to be 100,000 people who are out here with their music online, butt naked, and they broke, and they got a whole bunch of student loan debt. Good luck.
Better get your OnlyFans together.
Hey, OnlyFans too. That's a whole different conversation. All right. So as we said today, a lot of stuff going. Anything else on our list before we start talking about what we about to talk about?
Nope, I'm ready to dive in.
All right. So as we mentioned today, we're going to have a conversation around polyamory. And so we're going to start off the conversation. We're going to bring in my man, Justin Clardy. And full disclosure, that's my LB. That's my man. So this is going to be an interesting interview for me to get in the interview mode with somebody who I love dearly. But that's why Kia is here. And so it's going to be a good conversation because I really want him to be able to explain. He's got a PhD in this space. So this is not something he's just flying off the handle with this thing. This is something that is real deal to him. And so I want to hear about the community. We also have Kia introduce your guest that will be coming on, your niece.
Yes.
Will be coming
My
on.
niece, Catalina, will be coming on as well. She'll be on in a few. Catalina Alicon Gainey. She's actually the niece. She's actually the daughter of my brother who came on previously. This is his oldest child that he talked about on the show. She is married to her wonderful wife, Connie, and they're actually getting married to their new wife soon, Fantasia. So they are three women who are living a polyamorous lifestyle, and they're happy. And I'm eager to learn more about it because this is a great space to learn more.
Well, without further ado, let me bring in my main man, Dr. Justin Clardy, aka we're not gonna call out our line names. So we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We got to get that out the way. But right now he's Dr. Justin Clardy, professor at. Where are you at now?
I'm at Santa Clara.
Yeah, Santa Clara. Okay. Yeah, cool. So tell us a little bit about yourself, so everybody kind of knows who we're working with here, and kind of your path to study and talk about this particular subject matter.
Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, so a little bit about me. As y'all said, I'm Justin Clardy, assistant professor of philosophy at Santa Clara University, where my research area focuses on philosophy of emotions, particularly love. And within that pocket, I focus on non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy, monogamy, all these different things. The path there, it was kind of trying to make sense of love, of course, but then also my own life. I've been polyamorous a good while. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit how I kind of thought of it as something worth studying, right? I think about the people who I encounter in the communities and their different knowledges, right? What we call epistemologies or whatever. And yeah, man, I mean, I learned so much, and I think that these people are producing knowledge that is worth taking a serious look at. So. Yeah.
So when we start talking about relationships and kind of where we are in the world now, there's some people who don't believe what I believe. I believe, obviously one man, one woman. I believe I have a wonderful relationship, but I say that, but love who you love. I mean, that's always a thing that when we get into those conversations, love who you love, right? Now, when we get into the polyamorous, having multiple people in one relationship is something that someone, and I'm just keeping it real, I'm speaking for the audiences out here right now that's like, Justin, this is just a fancy way for you to sit up here and have, for people who think like that, kind of give us your perspective on that.
Yeah. I mean, you said something interesting there, right? Love who you love, and I wish it were that simple. I mean, I think that a more true fact is the fact that the loves that we have exist within societies, like under governments, right? Politics, all of this other stuff. And so, when we think about love who you love, and we think about the institution of marriage, right? How it incentivizes certain relationships economically, sort of certain protections are extended to the children of married folks, so on and so forth. And we say, okay, well, this institution is about loving who you love, but then the state puts its hand into things and extends certain benefits, protections, so on and so forth, which creates sort of uneven dynamics when it comes to the privileges that some lovers have, and then sort of like the privileges that other lovers don't, right? So even this discussion of love and loving who you love is gets a little bit complicated.
Sure.
And I mean, I get the whole idea of like, this is like an excuse to be like a player and all of this other stuff. But I mean, in my work, I'm careful to make distinctions between sort of the manipulation or the sort of like hidden nature, right, of sort of doing non-monogamy unethically, right, which is what we associate with cheating and adultery. I make a distinction between that kind of non-monogamy and sort of the kind of non-monogamy that people associate with polyamory, which is one that is rooted in honesty, rooted in sort of open and frank communication, non-possessiveness, right? I don't want to own another individual, right? I don't want them to be my possession. I don't want to control them. Right. And so when we think about it on those terms, it's actually more challenging, I think, than some monogamous relationships to actually do well.
Oh,
so
I'm
it's
sure
not.
It is. I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So,
well, I have a
Kia,
quick question.
Yeah.
I just want to know, what is the difference between polyamory and polygamy? Like, what's the difference in those two words?
Sure. So a couple of things, right? So I think the central is one has to do with marriage and the other doesn't, right? Okay. Polygamy means more than one spouse, right? Multiple marriages. Polyamory means multiple loves, right? This idea that you can have multiple romantic or sexual relationships that stop short of marriage, right? And again, that's a political matter. Polyamorous can't currently get married as such in the United States. I mean, there are two places in Massachusetts, the city of Cambridge and the city of Somerville, who have recently extended marriage rights to non-monogamous, but predominantly throughout the United States, you can't even get married as such. You can't really be polyamorous and get married. So yeah, it's kind of like a distinction between like, boyfriend and spouse or something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So where's the genesis of polyamory? Is it a new phenomenon? Has it been around a while?
It ain't nothing new under the sun, man. I mean, I think how we think about it is different, right? So the term polyamory we see emerging in the 70s, but that doesn't mean that non-monogamies didn't exist, right? So before there was a term, right, there were still these relationship dynamics amongst Black folks in particularly. I mean, the work of Tara Hunter, who has this book called Bound in Wedlock, talks about how, for example, the institution of slavery designed non-monogamies for Black folks, right? Think about vows that we take at marriage time, till death do you part, right? Well, in the antebellum South, they modified that language to say till death or distance do you part, precisely because in the domestic slave trade, families were disrupted, children, women, husbands were sold off. And what this did in some cases was lead to the development of other affections for other individuals. I mean, it wasn't like you had a cell phone, right? It's not like you could just hit up like your spouse, like, oh yeah, I'm on this new plantation. I'll see you next week on like FaceTime or something like that. Nah, I mean, once you was gone, that was it, right? They even called those relationships abroad relationships. Think about borders now, and we think about abroad, we thinking of a whole nother country. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of how those relationships and the relationships in those spaces were conceptualized. So, and you have instances of people taking on new wives, new husbands, but writing letters that express this sort of profound love that they still have for their first spouse, right? During the Reconstruction period, where we're starting to see Black families in particularly reuniting, right? And I mean, of course, the Freedmen's Bureau is also forcing them to marry, right? You have these sort of complex family dynamics, these sort of husbands and wives that have second husbands and wives with children and so on and so forth. And you have the Freedmen's Bureau kind of basically saying, yeah, we get that there are all of these dynamics, but we're just going to marry you to the person you got the most kids with, right? And sort of forcing these non-monogamies into this sort of monogamous framework. So no, I would say that polyamory is relatively new when we think about the term and how we're starting to study it and analyze it. But when I think about the relationship dynamics that we now call polyamorous in some regards, those have existed, at least in the United States, since, Black folks arose in Jamestown. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess one thing that causes me to pause a little bit is just based on the perception that I hear it almost make marriage sound like it's an obligation that has so many shortfalls. And that I ain't gonna front, Noop. That kind of gets under my skin a little bit, because I think there's a lot of value in that level of commitment in marriage, and so to kind of look at it like antebellum slavery and everything that most of it is just based in love and commitment, and this is my life partner, and this is what I'm going to build a life with, and really to me, whether it be a heterosexual relationship, homosexual relationship, polyamorous relationship, if you guys have commitments to each other and you're going to do life together, that's the overall thread that goes through all of those type of relationships.
Well, and that's absolutely fine, right? I think that sort of like the love that we're talking about can exist outside of marriage. I mean, most people who get married even monogamously are in love before the marriage, right? I mean, think about KISSING, first comes love, then comes marriage, right? So there's this line that we think about existing on. So the love is not the issue, but to me, again, when the state puts its hand into these matters by condoning, or sponsoring certain relationships through the institution of marriage, creating material differences, right? Differences in one's ability to make money, for example, and sort of tax rates. And again, protections for my children or protections for the children of these lovers. If marriage has these benefits, I think that they should also be extended not only to people who find themselves in love in the monogamous way. That's fine. The issue that I have is sort of it stopping short there, right? As if these other loves don't exist. And I don't think that, having more than one really decreases one's commitment. I think about friendships. You can have one friend and be equally committed to them. You can have more than one child, right, and still be equally committed to them. So I think similarly, you can have more than one partner or lover and be equally committed to them as well. I don't think that anything about the relationship being romantic or sexual complicates that fact, right? If love is love, then the love we have for our friends, the love we have for our children, which is not something we have to reserve to just this 1-to-1 ratio, should also serve as a model for how we think about how we can love one another, right? Sort of in this more expansive way, if that makes sense.
It makes sense to a degree. Kat, we're going to bring you in here in just a second. We're going to bring in our second guest here in just a second. The love I have for my wife, the love I have for Kia, the love I have for my children are all different. Right?
But you have more than one child.
Okay.
So just to hop in there real quick, I think having multiple children and multiple, I don't think it's a love that we can kind of compare as the same thing. Having multiple children, loving all of them equally, and then having adult people that you love the same. I don't think that's the same type
Yeah.
of love. That's
Yeah.
different. That comparison is different to me. But with Catalina coming on, and Catalina is my niece, and she's actually she's actually getting married. Her and her wife are getting married to their new partner, but they've been living polyamorous for. Well, Kat can come on and explain a little bit more about
Well,
it.
let's go ahead and bring Kat in. Let's bring Kat in. Uh, Good evening, Kat. Nice. Thank you for joining us. And Key, I'm gonna let you do introductions to our audience.
I will treat her like an adult. This is Catalina Alacantini. She's my niece, and she is living in a polyamorous relationship, and she's getting married to her wife soon. And Kat, I just want you to explain a little bit more about you, Fantasia, and Connie's relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Connie and I, we've been together on our own. We've been together for 7 years. I met Fantasia on my own in 2019, so we were technically been together for 3 years, but altogether we have been together for 3 years. Explaining it as far as like how it works, it really just kind of, I guess, works with how two people would work, but add one. And I know that sounds super complicated and really confusing, but it really is just how you see your relationship. We see ours the exact same way. There's really not roles. Nobody has rules. It's however you would do yours. We have preferences, but just add one more person, I guess.
So, Justin, just to ask you really quick, is this more like kind of what you're talking about, how the polyamorous relationship, it kind of just removes the roles and the expectations that everybody has for it and just lets it be what it is, like kind of what Kat is talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some senses, I mean, I've also been a part of dynamics that were a little larger than just three folks, and I think that,
Wow.
yeah, the communication
That was a real, okay.
yeah, I think that the communication that emerges from those situations kind of vary. So I think just as like every single monogamy is different, I think every single polyamory is different. So I do think that there's a similarity to be found there. But yeah.
I got to go back to what we talked about the dynamics of bring a little bit of levity to this little conversation. You feel so heavy right now, right?
Yeah,
Man, 3-4 people in a relationship, man, it's hard to be in a relationship with one, man. Y'all talking about being in a relationship with 3+. That's got to be work, man.
I mean, do you think
and she can explain it. Catalina is doing the extra step because she's got 2 wives and they also have a child. Like, so there's all this. I couldn't be you. So Catalina, how do you all make it? Well, first, my bigger question is, and this is for both of you all, whoever wants to go first, what made you know that this was a lifestyle that you wanted to have? How did you know that this is what I want to do? This makes sense for me.
Well, for me, honestly, it's literally it's just like monogamy. It's something you always knew you were. I always knew I was this. When I first started dating Connie back in 2015, I was very upfront with her in the beginning. I'm a very open person. 7 billion people in the world. I'm so down to spend the rest of my life with you, but there's just something about my brain that's also okay with the rest of the world. And there's also preferences with that. It's like I can't see myself being monogamous the same way I cannot see myself adding a 4th person. I'm good with the 3. This makes enough sense to me. This is how my brain functions. We have our daughter. She's amazing. Having 3 moms is so easy. And that kind of thing. But it really was just a you just know kind of thing for me. Anyway.
So Justin, I know you're a little bit of a leader in the community of polyamory, right? You speak and you.
I started hearing that. Like, I guess so. I said I guess so, but it makes me cringe hearing that.
Right. So you speak. It's a funny story, and like I said, we gonna make this thing. Justin comes in town. He lives in Cali, so anytime I get an opportunity to see my LB, I'm like, yo, you in town? Where are you? I'm like, cool. So I come downtown in Atlanta, come down to the hotel. He's speaking at this event, and I come down to the desk and say, hey, I'm here to see Justin. At that time, he wasn't Dr. Clardy. I don't think you were almost there, but you might have been. Yeah. I said, Justin Clardy's here. He's speaking. He wants me to meet him here. They were like, are you registered? And I said, well, no, one of the guests, and then I started to see people walk by that was like, you know what? I'm good, Justin. I'll see you upstairs in the lobby. But it was funny. But so Kat talks about 3, that's her limit.
Yeah.
You saying you've been in relationships where there's been more.
Yeah.
And the dynamics of that, not only, you know what I mean, there's levels of responsibility that has to be there if you guys are intimate.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like everything else, right? I mean, testing and these sorts of things, like, and I mean, I think when I talk about sort of like having been in larger dynamics, right? The largest amount of partners I've had personally has been 3. But I mean, so there are all of these extra dynamics that get bound up in my position as a man.
Is that you plus 3 or just you plus 2?
It was me, and then I had 3 partners. I had three partners, Rolanda, right?
And they all knew each other. They all knew about each other. Because is that a key point of it? In order to be in a polyamorous relationship, does everybody have to know about the other?
Yes. You need to know about the relationships. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Right now, like what you need to know about those relationships, you have to kind of respect each relationship and each person, right? Like you don't tell your friends, like think about it in terms of friendship, right? Like what one friend tells you, you're not running and telling all of the homies, like, nah, you don't do that. That's just bad decorum, right? But like again, I wanted to come back to this point though about like me being like a man in certain senses, right? And there's so many different problematics with being a man and polyamorous, things that have to do with control, things that have to do with possessiveness, so on and so forth. And so for me, it's really important that I don't introduce these boundaries to the people that I date, that they can't date outside of me. So with that, right? Whoever they are in the world, whoever they meet and encounter, right? You always are kind of like, open to this possibility that there might be some more. So it wasn't like me, like with 18 folks. Nah, it just is that, I had 3 partners. They also are people, bro. And, and they relate to other people in the world. So, I think about it a lot like friend dynamics. I've been with people who I'm not having sex with. I mean, again, we think of romantic love and sex as necessary, right? But there are people, for example, who, people of different abilities, right? So who may or may not be able to have sex in particular kinds of way. I mean, it's just so much that we just leave on the surface and, want to laugh it off as folly. But I think that sort of when we have more serious conversations about this, a lot more points can be made and people can kind of see things a lot clearer. Like, this isn't what I thought it was, right? It's not just some big orgy.
Yes. I will say this, after hearing both of you all talk, I'm good because it just sounds like extra work. I'm already tired now dealing with one person. I can't imagine dealing with multiple people because, like in both of you all situations, specifically Catalina's situation, you are dealing with 2 other people's emotion. My husband comes up to me right now and I'm like, I need you to get out of my face. Like, I just need to just sit here with this glass of wine and this Real Housewives show and just shut my brain off. And it feels like in a relationship with multiple people, you're balancing a multiple emotions. So, like Catalina, how do you deal? Because again, you're in a very serious relationship. Like you and Fantasia and Connie are getting married soon. How do you deal with everybody's emotions?
I leave the room. They're getting on my nerves.
So you do the same thing I do.
Way. And that's what's cool about it, right? Yeah. It's like if Fantasia's having a bad day, you can go take a break. If Connie's having a bad day, it's your turn to take your break. If I'm having a bad day, you treat it like anything else. You know what I mean? It's pretty much the same, but yeah, there is that extra person. There is a lot of emotions. But what's really good, I mean, you know me, I'm majoring in psychology. What's really cool about it for me is perspective. It's very easy to look at somebody, have a conversation, and it be biased because of the only 2 things you know. So for me and Fantasia and Connie, one thing that we're really good at is jealousy, boundaries, all that. We were able to knock that out pretty early. We all had to find our communication in it. So sure, it took a minute, but we did it. But now it's like, if me and Connie are having a situation and we're not hearing it clearly, or we're just fighting back and forth, Fantasia can come in and say, listen, both of you, here's what's going on. Same for me and Fantasia. Connie can come in and say, both of you are wrong. Both of you are right. Here's why. And same for me. It honestly makes it a little bit easier because Connie and I could go back and forth. Fantasia and I could go back and forth saying the same thing, yelling at each other for whatever reason. But it's like that third perspective for us really works out. And for other people, it does not. They don't want to hear a third voice. Completely understand. But for us, it's beneficial. But so, if they're having a problem, y'all can go sit down somewhere.
So let's go back to something that you guys have said something which is kind of conflicted with each other. Kat, you and your two partners are getting married. Justin, you said, and it's only, you can't now. So the marriage you're talking, Kat, is it legally bound marriage, or is it, talk to us about that? Because Justin's saying that can't happen, but in two places in Massachusetts, and you're saying you're getting married.
Right. So nobody is legally married to anybody in our house. Connie and I did have a ceremony. We had the wedding.
Wait,
We did the
hold
whole
up.
shebang.
Sorry, I have to go in auntie mode for a second. You and Connie aren't legally married?
No.
Uh-oh, spilling the tea. I need a little graphic for that.
That's gonna be a conversation
it was
for the whole family in a few minutes. But go ahead, keep talking, Kat. That's fine.
Yeah, and the whole nation. Get them to the polls, Kat. Tell them they got to vote. You know what I'm saying? Get them to the polls.
I don't think anybody knew that besides, of course, my mom. But yeah, no.
Life full circle dropping the tea. Life full circle dropping the tea. But go ahead, go ahead, Kat. Go ahead, Kat.
Yeah, no, we are you know, in the state of New York, right? After like 5 years of living together, they consider you legally married, kind of thing. It's kind of like that. Connie and I have been together for so long. We're married. It is what it is. We've done everything together. We have all these assets conjoined together. It is what it is. Fantasia and I met, and then Connie met her. We all fell in love. It was a beautiful situation, and we decided we want to put a ring on it. So we proposed, got her a beautiful engagement ring. Now we're having a giant ceremony about that too. But legally, no, nobody is bound to anybody here, and that is what separates the polygamous side from the polyamory side. We sit married because it's just easier to explain that way. Wife, fiance, soon to be wife, knocks out additional questions.
So talk about that, Justin, because you talked about legislation. Where's your community with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of like the community is in an uproar right now, getting louder because, as we know, Roe v. Wade was recently overturned with the Dobbs decision. And a lot of people on the right and conservatives are worried that Obergefell v. Hodges, which was a 2015 case that allowed same-sex marriage, will also be visited by the Supreme Court. Some people are, up in arms at like, okay, if this conservative court sees this case or revisits this case, we're going to lose same-sex marriage. While I think that that's likely, right, with a conservative court, I also think that a revisiting of that case gives us an opportunity as a public to engage again in conversations about marriage, what it is, what it's for, how it functions, and for whom, right? Because again, we can talk about the racial dynamics and who's getting married and who's not. Right. I think that public conversation getting ready to happen again is important. I think you see many non-monogamous advocates and allies sort of gearing up and preparing themselves, not even preparing themselves for that fight, right? Because that makes it seem like they weren't engaged with it already. But there are people who, again, have been engaged in this fight and are sort of, ready to kind of have those conversations.
Are you is the movement attaching itself to the same-sex marriage movement, or is it a separate movement altogether?
I don't think that it's a separate movement because there are same-sex relationships that are also polyamorous. I mean, we're talking to Kat, for example. I don't think those issues come apart, right? So I do think it's the same issue, right? We're sitting here talking to Kat as a person in a same-sex relationship and saying, hey, we're not legally married, right? So the tax breaks that the folks that are legally married and get, all we get is a wedding ceremony, which is not to shit on, pardon me, I don't know if I can say that on the radio.
You're fine, brother. We all adults out here.
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't say that to sort of like, devalue, weddings, right? Because weddings are sort of ceremonious, they're ritualistic, right? I think this is important. When it comes to sort of like legal business and legislation, I think that's a conversation that we need to have. So when in 2015, Obama comes out and says, okay, love wins, right? When Obergefell passes, it's almost like people in same-sex relationships who are also polyamorous were rendered invisible, right? Because it wasn't a win for them, right? It was a win for same-sex monogamous relationships, which is a different thing altogether. So, yeah.
That's a lot to unpack, brother. I'm just, that's a lot to unpack.
This is just Wednesday.
This has definitely been one of those conversations where it's just like, I have like 40 billion other questions, a lot more from my family now that they realize that Kat's not legally married.
Well, we turning the cameras off of that. That's for y'all to deal with off camera. We're not doing that.
But Justin, I have one question for you. I guess it's a kind of a funny question. Do you ever see yourself finding those perfect 3 women just to be with for the rest of your life. This is the perfect 3 that you could just see
Let's
yourself
start with 2. Can we just start with 2?
That's fine.
Can we
Let's start
start?
with 2.
Can we start with one? No, I'm just playing. I mean, look. So, the way I do my non-monogamy is like I'm not like on the prowl ever, really like that, right? I mean, I encounter people who I connect with, and if they're interested in, deepening the intimacies that we have, maybe as friends or as associates or whatever, I'm open to having that conversation with whoever I'm with at that time, right? And we will see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a sure thing. It's not like I can just invite people and introduce them and everybody's just cool. Like, nah, it's sometimes you got friends that you don't bring around other friends. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, nah, they be tripping. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so again, I think that friendship is a really good model for how we should think about non-monogamous relationships and polyamories.
Yo, this is deep, bro. I can't front. It's one of those things where, a lot of folks still gonna say, man, it's just a fancy way to put a DR in front of you out here. You're a player. You Dr. Player.
Yeah, well, they should read something.
So I know you got some. I know you've got some content out there, books and papers and things that people can kind of dig in. Drop a few of those nuggets where people can do some Google searches and learn a little bit more.
I mean, you can pretty much find everything on my website, justinclardy.com. And yeah, across the socials, if you want to see what I tweet, or just follow me, it's at Your Faith Philosopher. I'm not going to spell it, but yeah, maybe we could put it in some show notes or something.
Yeah. We can put it out there. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, justinclardy.com has it's a nice hub to kind of access things I've written publicly, other interviews. It's just a good spot.
Kat, do you have any questions for Justin? As Justin is considered an expert in the space, so we will give you the interview hat for a second.
Cringy expert.
Oh, I would have thought of some prior, but I don't have any right this moment.
Okay. Cool. Cool. I appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate y'all coming on today. We appreciate y'all sharing and being so honest with us. It's a real conversation. Respect you. I'll say it again. And give me a T-shirt. Love who you love. Love who you love. You know what I mean? I believe what I believe. I don't love my brother Red Fox no less. Because that's my man.
I just want to say, Catalina, I know I'm making jokes about the wedding and everything, but the main thing is our family and her mom's side of the family is beyond ecstatic that Catalina is happy in her life. She is happy and thriving. That is something that, we love you. We are so happy for you and proud that you found a way to live your life the way you want it and do it proudly.
That's all that matters.
And Kia, I appreciate you saying that because a lot of Black folks don't think that they have family support. So to even hear you as an auntie and speaking on behalf of the family, to hear the way that this young Black polyamorous woman is being supported, man, I mean, kudos to y'all as well.
Don't get me wrong, they're confused as all get out, but they just want her to be happy.
That's no problem.
We all confused. I'm still sitting up this joint, still scratching my heads in the group chats with Justin, for sure. All good, man. Love you guys, man. I appreciate you for coming on and for sharing and being so honest with us. All right, kid, let's go ahead and wrap this joint up here. Great interview.
Part of the show, but yes, it was a great interview. I love that both of them came on and both of them explaining it. I couldn't do it. You couldn't do it, but it makes sense. Did it not make sense to you? It made sense to me.
Sure. It makes sense. It's not a lifestyle that I choose, right? But I'm not out here grabbing picket signs for people who live in. It's if they're happy. Here's the thing. I look at relationships as relationships. Like, I'm married to my wife, but I got friends and family, all over the place. And so it's all about relationships. If those, in Kat's case of her wife and her soon-to-be second wife can coexist and they cool with it, God bless. You know what I mean? As long as you're not trying to come over here and try to say, well, marriage ain't real marriage, and y'all trying to, you see, that's when I get into all right, y'all chill out. I'm good over here. Those of us who love these, we good over here in these heterosexual relationships and raising our, leave us alone, and then we'll support you guys. Because I sure ain't running on picket signs, talking about gay marriage and having issues with that. Live
No,
their life.
that is,
That's not
see,
live their
Life on
life.
Circle may be a lot of things, but we not doing that. We will
We ain't
not
doing
even
that.
allow people to come on this show who are anti any of that. You can't come on here. You cannot
Yeah.
come in here. We don't want to hear your point of view. We want to hear your platform. That's not for us.
This ain't this ain't for. We've had in the 10+ years we've been doing this show. We've had a whole lot of guests come from a whole lot of perspectives, interracial dating and everything. You know, that's what we do.
Remember when we were gonna have the lesbian pastor and she canceled an hour before after I worked that I did everything to get her on and she just like canceled an hour before? That was gonna be an epic interview. That was
Well, maybe we can go find her again. All right, we got about 5 minutes. We got a couple things before we get into our sad news, which we know we got to honor our ancestors. Can we talk real quick about the Brooklyn pastor, the brother with the prayer closet?
How did this get back on the list? I'm calling the intern now. Alexis.
So anyway, it's crazy, man. I just, it just always makes me cringe with some of my friends who are pastors and who are building flocks and trying to do their thing and serve the community. You got clowns like this. So people don't know there's a dude up in New York. There was a video out
Bishop Jamal Whitehead.
Bishop Jamal Whitehead was preaching and he got robbed on the air. Why you laugh? He got robbed on the air. My fake New York accent just came out, and he dropping down, and the drummer was in the back corner like.
That's the part that made it funny. If that other drummer guy, I don't think there would have been no heat for Bishop Whitehead if the drummer would have got down to. Instead, the drummer is sitting like me, just watching the kids on the floor playing around with their toys. I'm just sitting there like, as long as y'all don't hurt yourselves, it's fine.
The drummer was like, man, that's Malik from around there on 52nd Street, man. I know exactly who that is, man. I know his band's out there. So then he comes out and he has videos on Instagram with his prayer closet and showing all his Balenciaga and Gucci and Fendi and everything.
Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
I mean, his prayer closet was worth more than his actual church. His church looks like an old bodega in Brooklyn. Like, it looked raggedy as I don't know what. But the closet is probably worth a good $500,000.
At least.
Make it make sense, Jesus.
At least. And Lord knows if they know where he lives, that's where they robbing next. There's even video out here with this dude at the casino gambling with his Gucci outfit on and everything. It's
he
crazy,
also robbed
man.
her of $90,000. He was supposed to help her get a home. That never happened. He's also done jail time for 4 years. So he's a crook. He's a con artist. And let's be honest, I hate to say this, I'm a Christian. Miguel is, we are proud Christians. Yeah. But in some people's cases, becoming a minister is the easiest grift in the book. Because you don't need a lot of credentials to be a pastor. And if people really believe whatever you're saying, they'll give money to you. And that's no taxes on that money. That's tax-free money.
Yeah, well, that's it. Not exactly. That's a misnomer. People believe it's tax-free money.
It's a misnomer.
It's a misnomer. I'm saying because a lot of we worked with those type of people. Here, I went too fast.
And they were con artists.
Hold on, let me go back. Let me go back to my 2 shot because they can't hear us. I was trying to put the comments up real quick. And most, as we know, most of these guys are not guys and women. They're not con artists. Most of the ones who are friends of mine are not con artists. We're not doing that.
Let's think of the ones who have come out lately, shall we? What was old fat girl who was talking about people being ugly with their hats on? Who was that?
Yeah, the singer. And here I am. That my coping mechanism has got me. Anyway, yeah, she clown.
You know who you're talking about.
She's a clown. Yeah. Let's jump in the comments real quick before we go. Your husband talk about the slap with Chris Rock and Will Smith. My man Andre, what you're not gonna do is talk about The Rock or Tony Rock. Yeah, my man Andre, my favorite Mississippian. We appreciate and love the homie. And then we got a couple other folks who were in the comment, but that's all that really matters right now. All right, sis, before we go.
So the sad part, as we end our show, we have to definitely pay respects to the people who have passed on recently. And Miguel has always told me this, that people die in threes. So we have to definitely say rest in peace to Nichelle Nichols. Everybody knows Nichelle Nichols as Uhuru from the original Star Trek. She was very famous for that. She was also on Broadway. Also the award-winning actress Mary Alice, known for her roles in A Different World. And she played the Oracle in The Matrix. And the legendary, the greatest basketball player of all time, Bill Russell, died at the age of 88. So it's
quite
been
a declaration. That's quite a declaration. Greatest champion for sure. And he is a part of, RIP. He is a noob. So but he's not the
Yeah.
greatest basketball player of all time. He won the most championships, but that's a
Why
whole
can't
nother
we? This man
conversation.
is dead. Why can't
That's
we
a
just
whole
give him
nother
this moment?
because I can't let you have that. You put it out there, you're gonna have a whole nother debate. But rest in peace to Bill Russell, amazing human being beyond the basketball court. He was a player coach. I want to say he might have been the first black player coach in the NBA.
Is he the one who almost got kicked out of the Garden? They tried to put him out of the Garden, and people were like, "What are you doing? You're putting Bill Russell out of the Garden." Or was that
I
another
I think
guy?
that was Casey Jones. That might have been Casey Jones, but who was also a black coach for Boston Celtics. But Bill Russell, up until even the young guys, you up until last year, you still saw Bill Russell at games. He was still very active in the NBA community, and so he's going to be sorely missed. But as you mentioned, Nichelle Nichols as well, Star Trek, and then yeah. Great show, Kia. Great guest, and so we'll continue to do this. We'll continue for people. You've had an opportunity today to do something. You saw us either on Facebook or YouTube. We appreciate you guys hanging out. Make sure you share on all those platforms. Make sure you follow us. God bless. We'll talk to y'all next week.